My name is Abigail Carney. You can call me Abby. I'm from Benjamin Rose Institute on Aging, but we are a subsidiary of Benjamin Rose, which is called the Rose Centers for Aging Well. And we'll talk a little bit about what each of those things mean here in a second. So here, I'm on two screens today, so forgive me. Okay, here we go. All right, so Benjamin Rose Institute on Aging is a Cleveland nonprofit organization that was founded around the idea of helping older adults. And so it was developed by this man named Benjamin Rose, who left money behind after he passed away that he wanted put towards making the lives of older adults better. And so that being said, it has evolved and developed, and now our mission is to advance support for older adults and caregivers. But this really is like direct care, and also with our heavy influence in research. And so we have multiple departments. So we were going to go over a little bit of those services today. Benjamin Rose has so many services for older adults and their caregivers, but I wanted to touch on a few key ones. So we offer financial wellness services through one of our subsidiaries called ESOP. ESOP stands for Empowering and Strengthening Ohio's People. So with ESOP, that includes financial wellness workshops, one-on-one financial counseling, free tax preparation. We also have Ohio's first nonprofit and full service real estate agency that is entitled Branches. So it helps people buy their first home or even transfer out of their last home. Then we have behavioral health services, and that assists people with mental illness, stay living in our communities as long as possible and as comfortably as possible. So that could be with our mental health day treatment programs, one-on-one counseling, or group sessions. A fairly new program that we offer is called We Care. It's We Care Because You Do. And this is a program for caregivers and their care partner. And so this helps connect you to services, kind of trying to understand that caregiver role, understand any respite services in your area or in your community, planning for long-term care, and helps you provide strategies to even get other family members involved with caregiving. So that's our We Care Because You Do program. And then we have a couple of programs that are licensed programs that were developed by research. This first program is a database that research developed. So it's called Best Practice Caregiving. It's an online database of proven dementia programs for family caregivers. So this resource is typically used by community-based organizations, policymakers, and professionals to identify any programs that they need in their communities where there's gaps in service. And so that's just like an online database that people can access for free. And then we have the SHARE program. This is another program that would interest professionals. Is SHARE, it's a 6-week evidence-based program that empowers people in early stage dementia to be an active part of planning for their future. And so this is not a program that Benjamin Rose puts on daily or weekly. This is a program that another community-based organization could license and implement in their own space. And so Benjamin Rose would give you the tools to do that. We have Margaret Wagner Apartments, which is a Benjamin Rose owned apartment building. It's operating under the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, also known as HUD. So it is subsidized housing for people over the age of 62, and they have to meet a certain income requirement. So we offer an apartment complex as well. And then finally is my department, the Rose Centers for Aging Well. And we are a subsidiary of Benjamin Rose, so we fall under that Benjamin Rose umbrella. We offer home delivered meal service. We offer a medically tailored meal service through our CAP-G program, which is coming from certain hospital referrals. And then we have 6 senior centers in the community across the greater Cleveland area. And that's what we'll be focusing on today, is those senior centers. I know that was a lot of information. Of course, you can always find everything on our website, benjaminrose.org. It's benrose.org. It's listed at the bottom of all the slides if you're interested. It's a lot of services that we cover. So today we're going to talk about senior centers. So I guess if anybody wants to come off mute and tell me what they think a senior center is. If you're shy, that's okay.
Is it like daycare but for senior?
Okay, someone said daycare. Does anyone else have?
It's kind of like a place where people can go and get like resources and can like have a place to like just kind of be with other people that are like their age.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so a senior center, it is actually not daycare. A senior center is typically where people who are pretty independent in life, so still have physical abilities, still, can do normal everyday things by themselves, go for socialization, for resources, for food, and just to stay active and stay healthy. A lot of times, senior centers are thought to be these places where people sit around and watch TV and just kind of, melt into the couch, right? But I think that's one of the big things that we face every day is the stigma about like, oh no, a senior center is for old people. I'm not old, like I'm not coming there. And we hear that a lot. And that's really just not what we are. I mean, here I will speak for myself at my senior center. We have people knocking down our door turning 60 that want to be here and get to know other people. Maybe they're newly retired and all of their friends are still working, or they're 72 and their spouse passed away and they're looking to get out of the house after grieving for months and meet new friends. And so those are the kind of people I like to keep in mind. And it's not this traditional of the older old just sitting there watching TV. Our people are super active, love to exercise, love to learn, and they're really just starting off those golden years to try and figure out, what their interests are, and is it something new or rediscovered? And so that's kind of what we talk about as a senior center. And so this is the, standard definition. So it's a community focal point. So this is a physical space typically. So that could be its own freestanding city senior center. It could be my center is in the back of a recreation center in Cleveland. We have one senior center in a Salvation Army. So this is usually a place with 4 walls that people can come to and get all the things that we talked about. And so there are 4 models of a senior center. And so we can talk a little bit about each one. So a cafe model is often where people can come and they can get a cup of coffee and they can have a snack or breakfast and sit with their peers in a common space and socialize. But then there's these options for them to break off from that main room and go do other things like take a history class, exercise, do silver sneakers, take an art class, all the different things that we think of when we think of activities for older adults. And this space is usually like really engaging and modern. And that is kind of what we think of when we think of a cafe model. Come in, do the couple things you like to do, and then head on home and go about your day. That's the cafe model. The lifelong learning model is just as it sounds. It's about learning and it's about taking classes, and that's about it. You're not interested in exercise. You're not interested in, I don't know, connection to resources. You're not interested in food. You're just there to learn and continue your education. And then the fitness and wellness model, again, just like it sounds, wellness can be all encompassing. So that's spiritual, financial, physical, mental, and then the fitness part of it, of course. So that's when you have a packed schedule full of all these different activities and then offering other services to the older adult as they are interested. And then the technology model, again, how it sounds, this is based on, you know, learning the computer, how to navigate your smartphone, taking computer classes, building a resume. A lot, we've seen that more and more. Older adults wanting to learn how to redo their resume online, apply for jobs online. That would all fall under the technology model. So out of these 4 models, the Rose Centers would fit best under this fitness and wellness model. That's not to say in the future we wouldn't try and switch to another model or push towards a more of a cafe model style. The cafe model is what seems to attract younger, older adults for this busy lifestyle. People that are working longer, people that have responsibilities with grandchildren or what have you. So that's where we're seeing the shift in senior centers currently. So right now we sit in that fitness and wellness model, but I think, speaking for myself, in the future, we could see ourselves transitioning toward that cafe model. All right, and so for the Rose Centers, we talked a little bit about this, but we were established in 2014. We were took over from a company called the Golden Age Centers and took over as the Rose Centers. And so we now have 6 senior centers across the greater Cleveland area and have a very robust home delivered meals program. So all the different things that we offer at the Rose Centers are a congregate meal service. So congregate meaning people are congregating. So they're sitting down together at tables, talking, having coffee, eating their lunch. We have our home delivered meal service, just as it sounds. We have 2 staff that ride together in a truck and deliver hot meals or frozen meals, depending on the person, right to their front door. With supportive services or connection to resources. So learning about all the resources you're learning here in this course, but you know, if someone needs help with their heat and electricity, we help them fill out an application for HEAT, which is our electricity service program. A lot of times people are looking to move. I help them like identify some senior buildings to put in applications in the area. The other day I helped someone with their insurance plan reporting how many times they come here because they got gift cards through their Advantage plan for coming to a senior center. So stuff like that we help with. A lot of social worker kind of connection to resources, even though I am not a qualified social worker. So we also offer health, fitness, and wellness programs. So here at my center, we offer chair yoga once a week. And then I have a group that likes to do a Richard Simmons tape. It's kind of funny. You remember the old 80s Richard Simmons. So they do that together. And wellness programs. We do a lot of health speakers. So people will come in and talk about different health topics. So that goes in with our wellness programs as well. Social and recreational. So we go on trips. Sometime pre-COVID, we used to go to the casino. We used to go to Amish country, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. What else have we done? They go to lunch, they go shopping, all sorts of fun stuff. And we have big parties, like we're planning a St. Patrick's Day party carnival that we're doing. So I'll try and making it engaging for our people to come out and get together again, especially after COVID of being, you know, isolated for 2 years. So working to ramp that back up. There is volunteer opportunities for our older adults to help out. So they can come and help us serve meals. They can sit at our sign-in table. A lot of people like to do that and socialize, and they get to know the people that come here. Help us, you know, with sweeping up after lunch and picking things up and putting things away. So that helps a lot to have their input. And then we have our educational and arts programs. A lot of times these are through grants. So every year we apply for the Cuyahoga Arts and Culture Grant. So that provides us with art services as well as other funding opportunities. But so we've had like theaters come out and do like programming with our older adults. We had the musical theater project and they did Peter Pan. And so that was intergenerational, excuse me. And then we had swing dance before COVID. This year we're doing visual arts, so more hands-on art programs. So usually that stuff's through grants. And then intergenerational programming. We have schools come out. We have a lot of students from Cleveland State or Case Western that come out for different programs. And then we also partnered with, there's some intergenerational schools here in Cleveland that is their sole purpose, is to interact with people of different age groups. And so we have them, a partnership with them where they come out to our senior centers. Sorry. Okay, so who attends the Rose Centers? So we are 61% female and 38% male. For our ethnicities, we're 57% African American. We are 24% white, 17% did not identify. We have less than 1% as 2 or more races, and then we have a less than 1% of Asian Pacific Islanders or American Indian. So like I said before, we have some people knocking down our door at 60, and our oldest participant right now is 105. So these centers are for anyone and everyone, but most of our participants are between the ages of 60 and 74. Most of our folks live alone. A lot, we do have been seeing post-COVID, a lot of brother-sister relationships. We've been seeing husband and wife coming in. I think after 2 years of staying home with your sibling or partner, people are ready to get out and meet new people. But over 50% of our people have an income below the poverty line. So that's important in the fact that being a nonprofit, we offer all of our services free or of little cost. Okay, and so then I have a video here I would like to show. So give me 1 second. Can you see my video screen?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
we can see it.
Thank you. All right, so just a quick 2-minute video. This was put together from a group that came out to the centers and really, you know, got in with our activities and really got some good stories from our people. So it's kind of moving.
Good, how are you?
Hello, beautiful. How are you? Good to see
I remember one of the seniors telling me, before I started coming here, I felt invisible.
This is an opportunity for my mother to get out and interact with other seniors her age, opposed to being at home bored, slowly drifting away, one day at a time.
Instead of sitting around getting stiff, I know I'm old, but I just really enjoy there.
So this is a place where you can continue to enjoy your life.
We have a ball here. We have fun.
They have a lot of activities here for us, and it keeps me young.
I don't know if it keeps me young, but it sure keeps me going.
Aging well is being prepared to age well. Looking at every facet of your life, from nutrition to socialization to physical activity. It's all of that.
Okay, when I walk in the Rose Center, I feel excited, number one. What's happening here? What's happening there? Nobody's dragging around saying, oh, woe is me.
These people try so hard to make you feel as though you're worthwhile living in this world. And I love them. I love each and every one of them.
Certainly as a senior, as you lose more and more people, this becomes your family.
Oh, yes.
It definitely enriches lives. I see it every time I come.
And that's what we want them to have. Everything they need to make their remaining years as awesome as it can be.
Okay. Get back to all right. So a couple of things in that video was, one, of course, this was pre-COVID. Two, I miss having a room of 80 people celebrating Christmas. And so hopefully one day we'll be back there. But just to depict like what it actually looks like, and the vibrancy of our people and the need to socialize. Through COVID, we, when it first happened, we thought, let's go virtual, right? But that's not what they want. Our people want to be in person. They want to see each other's faces, especially for a group of people who either can't afford technology or don't know how to use technology, or maybe they don't want to learn how to use technology. And so us being in person is real key to the work that we do, and getting back together is definitely our high priority. So the requirements to attend our senior center is that there's only 60 years of age. That's the only requirement. So we don't have an income requirement. We don't have like a geographical requirement. So you could live in Akron and drive all the way here to the west side of Cleveland if you wanted, as long as you were 60. So we do have a transportation service that we offer, but that does have obviously a distance requirement. So within 5 miles, if you live within 5 miles, we'll come pick you up and take you home from the center. For home delivered meals, it is a little bit different. So home delivered meals, you have to be 60, or you have to have a spouse or client living in the home, spouse of the client who is at least 60. So if I was 62 and I was homebound, but my husband was only 58, then he could still receive meals because I was of age. You can be under 60 and get meals if you have a disability, a documented disability. You cannot receive meals from another agency at the same time. And this is up for interpretation, but homebound. So we define that as someone who has a hard time leaving the home to get food, has difficulty preparing meals. Our meals have a delivery window of 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. So that homebound requirement is really key, because if you are not homebound and you're leaving the house and you're going to the grocery store, you're going to the bank, you're going to visit your friend, we would recommend that you would get meals in person at a congregate meal location. But if you are homebound, you would be home for your delivery. Okay, and then in nonprofit, if you're familiar with nonprofit, is usually a very Mod Podge put together way of funding, and that is no different for us. And so one of our biggest funders is the Older Americans Act, and that's through the Title III. And so that money comes down to us, that is federal, but it comes down through the state and then through our area agency on aging. And so that money is dispersed through them. That helps cover our supportive services, our meals. And then our second largest is DSAS, which is Cuyahoga County Senior and Adult Services. They help us fund our programming that we do, as well as transportation and congregate meals. And so every hour someone spends here, they will reimburse us for that if they are a DSAS client. So there's many other funding opportunities for us, and we're always looking for new ones. So this is just kind of a quick rundown. We do ask participants for a $1 daily meal donation. So that helps offset our meal costs. If they can't afford it, of course, we do not require it, but we do ask for a suggested donation of $1 for each meal. And talking about community partners, so we have many community partners that help us provide our services, but 3 of our key ones are the places in which our centers reside. So we do not own any of the spaces where we are. So myself, I am at the Gunning Park Recreation Center, which is a City of Cleveland recreation center. We are, quote unquote, leasees of this building, and we just kind of occupy the back of the building. So really in a community partnership with the City of Cleveland. Same thing at the Salvation Army. They occupy a small part of that building. And then also a couple of our other centers are in CMHA, which is the Cuyahoga County Metropolitan Housing Authority buildings. And so we have these community partnerships that allows us to be in their spaces as a community like agreement. Some key things to note is the services that we do not provide. And this is what kind of differentiates us from those like adult day or assisted livings. You know, you think they still have activities, right? But we don't provide any sort of medical services. So we don't distribute meds. We don't do any overnight care. We don't have a doctor or a nurse on staff. We don't assist with eating, toileting, anything like that. So when you're here, even with cognitive impairment, we always, if someone comes and says, hi, my loved one has, you know, some cognitive impairment, they want to come to the senior center, we do have to assess the level of cognitive impairment because we are low staffed and we do not have medical services. If that person was like to wander off, would they be putting themselves at risk? Because that's not something we monitor here at the senior center. They come and go as they please. And it's kind of just a social place to gather. And then we don't offer any sort of case management. We do assist with connection to resources, but if there's in-depth case management that needs to happen, we will refer out for those services. So our response to COVID, I kind of talked about throughout the presentation, but when COVID first hit, we closed all of our senior centers and switched every single person to home delivered meals. And so this was a huge, huge push for us, nearly doubling our home delivered meals service with the same amount of staff. And so that was really, really a huge shift for our business. And then as things progressed last July, we started reopening senior centers on a very reduced population group basis. So we had to think about the programs we wanted to have in person. Could they sit 6 feet apart while they did the activity? Could it be outside instead of inside? Things like that. And then we instituted this grab and go meal service. And so we are still running that. So for 1 hour a day here at my center, participants can pull up to the back of the building and a staff person is out there handing out meals. And so they can come pick up meals and just be on their way. And so that has helped with people that still don't feel comfortable coming back into the building through COVID. We started a weekly wellness call process. So volunteers call seniors at home once a week to just check in and see how they're doing. We have started really recruiting volunteers for these services where Benjamin Rose didn't really have a volunteer pool pre-COVID. And then we've seen a huge increased need in older adults. So in the beginning, people needed meals. They needed to be switched to these home delivered meals and we needed to get the meals to them. So that was a huge increased need for us through COVID. But then also now we're seeing people need to get back out there. They need socialization. They need to get out of their houses, especially now with the weather breaking. People are, more interested in getting out. So an increased need there as well. And then with volunteering at the Rose Centers, we have a few things. So wellness calls, like I talked about. We also have a volunteer position for people who are interested in assisting with grocery delivery or medication delivery, and any sort of like errand running for older adults that can't get out. And then assistance with delivering our meals. Since we have seen so many people in need of meals, we do have a hard time hiring people to keep up with the demand. And then I just want to talk about a little bit, I know not all of you, I'm sure most of you don't live in Cleveland. So just kind of talking about like what you can do to support aging well and supporting senior centers in general. So I would encourage every older adult in your life to try a senior center at least once. If they go once and they hate it, that's fine. But we, like I said, oftentimes we hear that I'm not old. Those aren't my peers. I'm not going to just go sit there. And it's just nothing farther from the truth. So I would encourage people in your life who are over 60 to just try senior center at least once. Refer any homebound people in your life to a home delivered meals program in your area. So that could be Meals on Wheels, could be your local senior center who's also doing the same thing as us, a home delivered meals program. Any sort of meals through their insurance. A lot of insurance providers now are offering home delivered meals, so you could check into that. And then also getting on the mailing list for your local senior center, even if you're not interested in, what they have going on right now. There could be a fun trip that comes up. There could be an activity or a class that they're doing that might interest you or your loved one if they're over 60 to get involved in. You don't have to go every day, I think is the key thing to note. And then volunteering. So providing your service, you're looking to get involved with older adults and have some sort of connection, then I would really suggest that this amount of stories that I've heard over the years here from the people are just priceless. And you learn so much from these people. So if you're ever interested in building relationships with older adults, senior centers are the place to be. And that's it for me.
So we do have a couple of questions in the chat that popped up while you were talking.
Mm-hmm.
And anybody else, if you want to type anything in, or if you want to unmute and answer your question directly, that's great too. So I'm just going to go ahead and read what we've got right now from Larissa, who asked about paying for the services. I know you touched on it. Larissa, did it answer your question, what she had, or did you have any?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Shannon Murphy just commented that when you've played the video, how much fun that looked. Michelle has asked if someone is non-English speaking, are there any interpreter services, or would they need to be accompanied by someone who could interpret for them?
So for the Rose Centers, we have contracted with like a telephone-based interpreter. So we have all the languages listed, and then we call a specific phone number for whatever the language is. And so it brings up someone on the phone that can help us communicate. But oftentimes, like, I kick myself every day that I don't speak Spanish, but oftentimes there will be a peer in the room who can help translate as well. And I feel like that's more meaningful for the participant if I can help, like getting someone else involved in the room. It's more personal than over the phone. So I try and do that where I can, but we do have the telephone service if needed.
All righty. So Buffy has asked, are you able to accommodate kosher meal requests?
So at this time, we're not. We are definitely looking for those options. I know there are some locations that have those abilities. So just mine specifically does not. With our area agency on aging meal calendar and menu, we go off what the dietitian like sets. And at this time, they don't have a kosher meal option. That's not to say it couldn't be a possibility in the future. I would hope it would be. But we are looking for ability for like different ethnic sides later, hopefully in the next few years, and adding some more culturally diverse foods for the different populations we're seeing here in the centers.
Yeah, very, very important question. Thank you, Buffy. Priest has asked, what are your hours of operation?
Yeah, so each of our centers has their own unique hours because they are unique to like their communities. But so for myself, the city opens our doors at 8:30. I get here about 7:15 to get the meals in from our caterer and things like that. But our hours of operation would be like 8:30 to 3. Those differ depending on what activities are planned. Some of our people like to leave by noon and just be on their way. But we do close at 3, and we are business days. We don't work weekends. And so that sometimes can be a conflict for people as well.
So Heather's asked, are all of the senior centers in Cuyahoga County? And I kind of want you to touch on that a little bit too. Like, so this is wonderful what you've described. How common is this that, because we're not all up in the Cleveland area, how common is it that somebody would be able to locate these types of things in any given community?
Yeah, pretty much every given community has a senior center. The robustness of your senior center will vary depending on your area. If you have a lot of older adults in your neighborhood, then you probably have a pretty robust senior program. But pretty much every
I know what you want to say. Municipality.
Thank you, municipality. I can't say it today. Every city has their own senior center. So like, I live on the east side of Cleveland. That's very far from most of our senior centers. And my city is a very small city, has its own senior program. We have like pretty much every part of Cleveland has their own senior center. So like Bedford Heights has its own senior center that's run by the city. Yeah, so they're all different. I would encourage you, like my husband grew up in Geauga County, and Middlefield, where he grew up, they have their own senior center, and it's a tiny little town. So pretty much every city or every area has its own senior program. It just You might not be aware of it because it might not have its own building. I think it's something to point out.
Alrighty. Denise has asked, are the wellness calls only for seniors who are already associated with the senior center, or could someone be referred for wellness checks who isn't actively involved with you?
No, I don't know. I can't see why not. I don't know the exact answer. I think of course, we would hope to engage them in our programs, but of course, if they needed a wellness call, I don't see why we couldn't add them to that list. Oftentimes it's our home delivered meal clients that are on those wellness call lists, because we do see most of our other folks in person. And so we can kind of seeing laying eyes on someone is a lot better than over the phone, as we know. But when we can't see them is then when we implement that wellness call.
Larissa is wondering if you have a list of centers specifically in the Akron area.
You know, I don't, but your like area agency on aging, it would still be, I think, Western Reserve, or is that Direction Home?
Direction Home.
Direction Home should have, Direction Home area agency on aging, they would have like a more comprehensive list. And I think they're a part of this as well. So that might be, you know, a question you ask them later on. Unfortunately, I don't have a list, but even on their website, they should have some sort of resource for senior centers.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Buffy is asking, what are your greatest challenges in running the centers?
Yeah, the two things, COVID, of course, but other than COVID, would be funding. We can dream and dream of all the things that we would love to do, but unless the funding's there, we can't make it happen. And so, like we're applying for this really large grant right now that would allow us to put in a salad bar. Like, who wouldn't want to come to a senior center that had a salad bar, right? I know I would. But doing, like, we can dream, even programming, like arts programs, unless we can find someone to provide it for free, we need money to do it. And so that's our biggest challenge. We have a lot of amazing ideas, but we sometimes don't have the money to keep up with it.
Great. Heather has asked, are most people coming as drop-ins or do they come regularly?
Most of our people come regularly. People kind of fall into a routine and have a set schedule. Of course, we do have, because we are in a rec center here at my location, we have kind of a natural referral system where people come in to see the weight room and then they're like, oh, I'm 60. And then they get pushed back here and we talk to them. Well, that kind of works out, but most people are regulars, come multiple days a week.
Alrighty. Michelle is reaching out to Larissa saying that we can actually find out for you that, see if we can't get a list of those senior centers in the Akron area for you. So we'll try to get that answer for you and get it out. Ashley's asked, apart from getting people to try it once, how would you recommend encouraging a senior who is hesitant about starting something new?
That's a good question. For me, I think it's the way that you see aging. I think if you see aging as just like the end and I'm not excited about it, it's just, I'm just here. I've already done everything I need to do, that kind of mentality. I think switching that mindset is super important to, like, this is the time where you more than likely have less responsibilities than you ever did. You're retired, maybe your kids are grown, your grandkids are in school or grown, you've paid off your house, or, you know, you're living on subsidized rent, or, you know, you have less responsibilities. You don't have to mow your lawn if you live in an apartment, whatever it is. And so changing that into a time where you can explore new things. And it's a lot easier, I think, to explore new things when you're in a group and there's other people that are doing them with you and nice people that are there to show you. So we have a lot of people here at the center that have been like, oh, I've always wanted to learn how to crochet. Like they come in and they see our crochet group. And they're like, will you teach me how to crochet? I've never learned. Like my mom knew, but I never knew. That's what people usually say. She never taught me. And so they'll sit down and crochet. Or like one of the big push was in Cleveland, not most people who live in Cleveland haven't been to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because it was for tourists. And so the big push for the Rock Hall over the last few years was to get Cleveland residents to the Rock Hall. And so that was a big trip for us multiple times, was getting our people who've lived here their whole lives over to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And so that might be weird for somebody who's never gone on a group trip and didn't know anybody on the group trip. And so I guess what I would say is to change the mindset and really reframe what getting older looks like. It's a more exciting and vibrant time in your life than I think a lot of people envision for themselves. Hope that was helpful.
Abigail, I wonder, I just had a question along those lines. Do family members ever come with the senior at first to, so they're more comfortable, and then that is a way to get them engaged? And are family members welcome to come with them? I think you touched on it, but.
Yeah, we're totally, you're able to bring your family member. If they're not over 60, then like we can give them a meal, or like priority would come to the people over 60 for like spots on a trip and things like that. But for the most part, like we had a mother-daughter couple that would come. And so mom was in early stage dementia, but she was great. And her daughter came just to support her. And they were the funniest and the most exciting people to be around. They friends with every single person in here. But at first she was really shy because she was in early stage dementia. So yeah, so definitely we have a lot of brothers, sisters that are over 60 that come together at first. And after they get their footing, then they'll break off and do their own things that they enjoy. So yeah, absolutely. You can bring a family member to get comfortable.
Shannon has asked whether you were able to obtain any of the COVID funds that were offered from the government during that time.
Yeah, yep. So most of that was for we, as Benjamin Rose got awarded as a whole, a lot of that went to our home delivered meals programming and salaries. So that was super helpful for hiring new staff.
Priest has asked, are you ever overcrowded? And also asking about outside activities.
Yeah, so I'll be the first to say, so right now we have, we used to be overcrowded.
Oh, wait. Stop.
Go ahead.
We used to be overcrowded before COVID. We'd have to put a cap on activities for even like room capacity issues. Like sometimes the fire department would fight us over here about how many people we could put in the room. But after COVID, I would say a lot of our people are still nervous. Their lives have changed over the past 2 years. They found a new schedule that they have to reintroduce us back into. So we are seeing lower numbers than we did before COVID, of course, but we also have a room capacity to keep. And I think that's, people are like, well, I don't want to sign up if there's only going to be 20 people there or 10 people there or whatever. Because they're used to this room being full of 50 to 60 people. So we're hoping that as cases decline, we can move into a space where we're allowing more than 20 people in the room and getting back to normal as much as we can. So right now I'd say no, we're not overcrowded, unfortunately. But the goal is to be. Outdoor activities, yes, we go on outdoor like park trips and things like that. And we try and do activities out here on the patio at my center as often as possible, especially with COVID. That's a new, priority for us where it wasn't really before.
All right, Rick has asked, since there aren't any medical personnel on staff, do you accept people with dementia? I know you mentioned a mother-daughter.
So yeah, we definitely do. There has to be conversations around, or even throughout the time that the person spends here in with the loved one. That is usually an emergency contact, because if the person comes in as early stage dementia and is for a few years and things are great, they go on trips, they do whatever, and then we start to see a decline where we're concerned about the person driving, or person wandering off or feeling disoriented or just not knowing where they are, then that's a conversation we have with the care partner and talk about maybe this isn't the best place for them at the moment, because we don't monitor like their whereabouts and things like that. So people can walk out the door and don't have to tell me they're leaving. So that's something important. But yes, we do take people with dementia if we're in a safe space to do that.
All right. Julie has asked, what requirements are there for somebody who may want to volunteer?
Yeah, so the volunteers, we do background checks because, people like to take advantage of older adults, unfortunately. So we do background checks, but that's really the only requirement to being a volunteer.